pleasure, actually, to welcome to the stage somebody who has, I imagine, an incredibly fascinating job. She's the Senior Vice President of EMEA Cyber Threat Intelligence at the Bank of America Europe. We're delighted she's here. She's going to share her own personal story of how sponsorship, mentorship, and coaching has accelerated her career. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Michelle Garrigan. Michelle, thank you. Hey, Michelle. Thank you so much. It's all yours.
Good morning, everybody. How is everybody doing? Good, good. It gives me great pleasure to be here among all of you female technologists and male allies this morning to share my personal journey with you. As our MC just said, I lead the Cyber Threat Intelligence team for EMEA with Bank of America. But I didn't start out as a technologist, and that's the personal story that I'm going to share with you today. So there I was, I'd graduated. I thought, this is it, I've made it. And as far as my career was concerned, I just thought the only way was up. It was going to be a straightforward line to the top. Little did I know at that stage that life sometimes throws you the odd curveballs. I thought that, you know, the chosen field that I had chosen to study was going to be where I stayed. And that's where I was. I was in a field, quite literally, because I had studied archaeology and history of art. And like anybody who studies archaeology, I went out and I found work excavating a piece of land that was going to be made into a road. So there I was, sitting in my hole with my helmet on, my high-vis jacket, surrounded by JCBs, scraping back layers of earth, looking to find some scrape of history. But it wasn't until like one very wet day when I was putting my rain gear on for about the 5th time that I decided maybe I need to reassess my career choice. So it was actually on that wet day that I decided maybe archaeology isn't actually for me after all. So on a number of different levels, archaeology was not really the career path that I thought I was destined to fulfill. And what actually happened over the course of my career is I was forced to reinvent myself, or I needed to reinvent myself, not just once, but 3 times. And my career path actually looked something like this. And maybe this career path resonates with some of you in the audience as well today. So my career path has actually been a series of lows, highs, and lateral transitions in order to get where I really was meant to be. So back to that wet day, I didn't know what kind of role a degree in archaeology and history of art was going to get me. I had no idea where I was going to be. But all I knew was that it needed to be warm and indoors. So I decided to start a career in banking. The one thing that I always swore I wouldn't do was work in a bank. But it seemed like the logical choice. And I started out at the bottom rung of the ladder. I started out as a cashier for one of the banks in Ireland. And I worked through a number of different roles. I worked through accounts roles, I went into wealth management, and I moved laterally across into corporate banking. And when I was thinking about how mentors and networking and coaching has shaped my career, I was thinking about the early stages of my career, and I was thinking, did I really have mentors? And on reflection, I actually did have people that were supporting me throughout those early years of my career. They were there to support me, to guide me, to help me through challenging situations. And they were there to encourage me to keep pushing forward. So it was actually when I moved into corporate banking that I actually found myself in charge of an online cash management product. Again, I was not technical, but I was managing the product from an end user perspective. But it was actually at that time that the product itself became the target of social engineers. And I saw a number of customers losing a lot of money through social engineers targeting them and duping them into giving over their personal information. And it was at that stage that I realized that we were a global bank. We were giving this product out, but not with a lot of guidance or support. And it was at that stage that I just got this fire in my belly that I wanted to help. And I think for one of the first times in my career, I felt like I had a purpose. And I was inspired by this, this possible path in technology. But I didn't know whether I was going to be able to make it in technology. The odds for me at that time seemed to be stacked against me. I was female, I had no technology qualifications. I was a mom, I had financial commitments, and this world seemed like it was slightly out of reach for me. And it was really at that point that my mentors came into their own, because whilst in my earlier careers I had used them, a little bit more casually, when I decided that I wanted to pursue this career in technology, it was then that I became a little bit more deliberate about my mentors. So some of the mentors still remain the same, but I did expand my group. I expanded my mentors to include some more people who are in that line in cybersecurity. And I found out that actually a lot of people in cybersecurity have just fallen into the job or the role. I don't think many people deliberately go out to pursue a career in cybersecurity. They kind of transition and find themselves there. So what I found was that when I reached out to people, that I engaged with people on social media, that everybody was so willing to help. And that's where networking also helped me. I put myself out there. I'm sure when we had the icebreaker about half an hour ago or so, I'm sure, like for many of you, the blood drained from your face when Vanessa mentioned the word networking. But what I actually realized was that networking is really just a chat. And I'm sure you realized that when you stood up and you stood to the person next to you to introduce yourself, that you realized people actually just love to talk about themselves. So networking is actually really easy at the end of the day. And when you want to be a little bit more deliberate about it, you target certain people, and that chat maybe has a certain objective. But what I realized was that people in the technology community are so friendly and so willing to help and really want each other to succeed. And that was something that struck me about my previous roles in the mainstream banking life. It was so competitive there. But especially in the field like cybersecurity, everybody has a common mission. We're fighting the bad guys. There's no competition between us. We're here to just tackle the bad guys and win that war. So really the technology community is just one big red heart of ones and zeros. So I had used the networking, I had used my mentors, and I'd used them really effectively, and they had really helped accelerate my career. In fact, I think I would have gotten there eventually, but I know it got me there a lot quicker, being able to leverage that expertise in the industry and be able to have somebody to go to when I didn't really know what else to do. Because it wasn't, that straight line up, as I said at the very beginning. There were some setbacks, and I did need to be resilient to break into technology. And as I used my mentors and I talked about what next, I realized that the degree in archaeology and history of art was really not going to cut it anymore, and I was going to have to go and get some technical qualification. So I returned to college. I did my degree in computer science. And the irony wasn't lost on me when in my first Java module, I input the code that would return this lovely hello world to me, because I had actually found my world. I had found where I was meant to be. And it gives me great pleasure to work as a female in technology every day. And my call to action to the people who are in this audience, because I know a lot of you have already made this journey, you've moved into technology, and then some of you maybe are thinking about moving into technology. My call to action would be to support the females within your organisation. Invest in the archaeologists, invest in the zoologists, the botanists, the accountants, because not everybody has to come that traditional path. As long as they have the right soft skills, then the rest can be taught. And that's the way I always approach it. So that's why every single day I try to attract more and more females into technology. Because we're talking about, the high-level figures of females in technology this morning, being at around 21%. The level of engagement of females in cybersecurity is even less than that. So I make it my mission every day to try and help another female, to advocate for females, and to pave that path for our next generation of talent. And I ask you guys to do the same, to put your hand out and help the next female in line achieve her goals. And I suppose I would say as well, as a female at that middle management level, I think as employers, we need to do more to support our females. We've heard this with a number of speakers before as well. We need to put those supports in place to help females be able to feel like that they have the support to have work-life balance, to be able to have a family and raise the family, but also to be able to have a career in tech. Thank you.
Michelle Garrigan, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. That's great. Perfect.